First contact and ridicule. High Admiral Chen stood at perfect attention before the Galactic Defense Council, her weathered face betraying none of the frustration she felt as Supreme Commander Vexthal of the Karnix Imperium continued his tirade. The towering alien's iridescent scales flickered with barely contained disdain as he gestured at the holographic display of Earth's defense fleet. "These vessels are an insult to modern space warfare," Vexthal declared, his secondary arms twitching in agitation. "Small, undergunned, and lacking proper armor. The humans expect to contribute to the Alliance's defense with these toys." The other council members shifted uncomfortably in their acceleration couches. The Deltaran representative's antenna drooped in embarrassment, while the Myraxian observer's crystalline form dulled slightly, their species equivalent of a wince. Chen had expected this reaction. Humanity's apparent technological gap had been a point of contention since first contact 3 years ago. The Karnix, with their massive dreadnoughts and planet cracker weapons, had dominated galactic military doctrine for centuries, their warrior culture prized size and raw firepower above all else. "Supreme Commander," Chen responded carefully, "I understand your concerns. However, I assure you that Earth's fleet is more capable than it appears. Our ships are designed with flexibility and adaptability in mind." Flexibility. Vexthal interrupted with a barking laugh that echoed through the chamber. "The void of space shows no mercy to flexible designs. Admiral, when the swarm comes, their bioships will crush your flimsy vessels like insects. The Alliance needs real warships, not these experiments." Chen caught the eye of her aide, Captain Sarah Martinez, who stood quietly in the shadows of the chamber. They shared a subtle glance, one that carried years of shared knowledge about humanity's true capabilities. The Council was seeing exactly what Earth wanted them to see. Perhaps a demonstration would be more convincing than technical specifications. Chen offered, "We would be happy to participate in the upcoming war games." Vexthal's primary eyes narrowed while his secondary set widened, a Karnix expression of amused contempt. "Very well, Admiral. Your ships may participate in the exercises next solar cycle, though I suggest you begin constructing proper warships if you wish to remain part of this alliance. We cannot protect those who refuse to properly arm themselves." As Chen and Martinez left the council chamber, they maintained their professional demeanor until they reached their secure shuttle. Only then did Martinez allow herself a small smile. "They're so certain they have us figured out," she said, checking their security systems out of habit. "Should we tell them about the Chimera project?" Chen shook her head, settling into her acceleration couch as their shuttle prepared for departure. "Not yet. Let them keep underestimating us. The swarm is coming, and when it does—" She paused, remembering the classified reports about the true nature of humanity's defense fleet. "Well, let's just say Supreme Commander Vexthal might learn that sometimes the smallest insects pack the deadliest stings." The shuttle detached from the council station, its stealth systems automatically engaging as they set course for the hidden shipyards of Luna Base. There, deep beneath the moon's surface, humanity's real fleet was taking shape, a revolutionary force that would soon change the face of galactic warfare forever. But for now, they would play their part. Let the Karnix mock their primitive ships. Let the Alliance doubt their contributions. Humanity had learned long ago that being underestimated was sometimes the greatest advantage of all. The coming storm. 3 months after the council meeting, the Alliance's worst fears materialized. The swarm, a vast consciousness controlling millions of biological ships, breached the outer defense perimeter of the Carina sector. The massive hive mind entities had already consumed 2 galaxy arms in their relentless expansion, leaving nothing but dead worlds in their wake. Deep within Luna Base's strategic command center, High Admiral Chen studied the real-time tactical display with growing concern. The swarm's advance was faster than their models had predicted. The Alliance's conventional defenses wouldn't hold for long. "Status report on Chimera?" she asked, not looking up from the holographic map showing the enemy's progress. Captain Martinez stepped forward, her tablet displaying classified readouts from the hidden shipyards. Final integration tests are complete. The neural networks are stable, and the swarm protocols are operating at 99.8% efficiency. We're ready. Chen nodded slowly. And the Council still has no idea. No, sir. The Karniks continue to file complaints about our substandard contributions to the defense effort. Supreme Commander Vexthal has been particularly vocal since the War Games. The War Games. Shen allowed herself a small smile at the memory. They had performed exactly as poorly as expected, their ships displaying all the weaknesses the Karniks had predicted. The resulting mockery had been almost unbearable for the junior officers, but it had served its purpose. The Alliance's attention had drifted elsewhere, dismissing humanity as a minor player in the coming conflict. A priority alert flashed across the tactical display, interrupting Chen's thoughts. The swarm had just overtaken the Karniks' forward operating base in the Perseus Arm. The base's massive defenses and state-of-the-art weaponry had fallen in less than 6 hours. They never understood, Martinez said quietly, watching the casualty numbers scroll past. The Karniks build bigger ships, stronger weapons, thicker armor. But they're fighting yesterday's war. The swarm doesn't care about ship size or weapon yield. They adapt, evolve, find weaknesses, just like we do. Chen's tablet chirped with an incoming transmission. Supreme Commander Vexthal's scaled face appeared, his usual arrogance replaced by barely concealed panic. Admiral Chen, the Alliance Council is convening an emergency session. The swarm, they've developed countermeasures to our primary weapon systems. Impossible. Our technology is superior. We'll be there shortly, Supreme Commander, Chen replied calmly. As the transmission ended, she turned to Martinez. It's time. Begin Phase 1 of the Chimera Protocol. Let's show them why humanity survived its own dark ages. Throughout the solar system, hidden shipyards hummed to life. Below the surfaces of Luna, Mars, and countless asteroids, humanity's true fleet awakened. Not the simple, undergunned ships the Alliance had mocked, but something entirely different. Something that would change the nature of space warfare forever. As Chen's shuttle departed for the Council station, she received confirmation that the Chimera project was fully operational. Humanity's response to the swarm threat wasn't a bigger ship or a stronger weapon. It was an entire new paradigm of warfare, born from Earth's long history of adaptation and survival. The Karniks were about to learn that sometimes the most dangerous predator wasn't the one with the sharpest teeth, but the one that could think differently. The battle begins. The Emergency Council chamber was chaos. Representatives from 24 species argued over tactical displays showing the swarm's unstoppable advance. Supreme Commander Vexthal's scales had dulled to an ashen gray as he watched his mighty dreadnoughts fall one by one. Impossible, he roared, smashing his fist against the tactical display. Our ships are the strongest ever built. Our weapons can crack planets. How are they adapting so quickly? Because you fight like machines, Chen said quietly, drawing every eye in the chamber. Predictable, methodical. The swarm doesn't just adapt to your tactics, it evolves to exploit them. The Deltaran representative's antenna twitched nervously. What would you suggest, Admiral? Your ships are even more vulnerable than ours. A new alert flashed across the main display. The swarm had broken through the Perseus defense line, destroying the last of the Karniks' heavy fleet. Their bioships were now less than 48 hours from the core worlds. Actually, Chen said, pulling out her secure tablet, I have a different perspective to share. With a few quick commands, she accessed the classified networks of Luna Base. New tactical data flooded the Council's displays. The chamber fell silent as the true nature of humanity's military doctrine appeared before them. Not the simple, undergunned ships they'd mocked, but something entirely different. The Chimera Project. By the first stars, whispered the Myraxian observer, their crystalline form pulsing with shock. What are we looking at? Evolution, Martinez answered, stepping forward to highlight key elements of the display. Our ships aren't individual units. They're cells in a larger organism. Each vessel carries thousands of autonomous drones that can reconfigure themselves based on the threat. Neural networks link everything together, allowing real-time adaptation to enemy tactics. Vexthal's secondary eyes widened in disbelief. You've been hiding this capability while we fought and died. We needed the swarm to reveal their full tactical doctrine, Chen explained. They had to believe they were winning, had to fully commit to their strategy. Now they're overextended, and their ability to adapt is about to meet its match. As if on cue, proximity alerts blared throughout the station, but these weren't warning of swarm ships. Through the chamber's vast viewport, space itself seemed to ripple and tear. What emerged made even the veteran council members gasp. The human mothership Chimera decloaked less than a kilometer from the station. But to call it a ship was like calling a hurricane a breeze. It was a living cloud of metal and energy, countless smaller vessels moving in perfect synchronization, like a school of predatory fish. Its form shifted constantly, pieces breaking apart and recombining in endless patterns. Beautiful, isn't it? Chen said with quiet pride. We learned long ago that the strongest force in nature isn't the biggest animal or the hardest shell. It's the ability to change, to become whatever the situation demands. Humanity survived countless near extinctions, not because we were the strongest, but because we were the most adaptable. More ships were appearing now, emerging from hidden fold space pockets throughout the sector. Each was a unique combination of human ingenuity and biomechanical evolution, guided by advanced AI, but controlled by human consciousness. The Chimera project isn't just a fleet, Martinez explained to the stunned council. It's the next step in military evolution, and it's humanity's gift to the Alliance, if you're willing to accept a new way of thinking about warfare. Vexthal stood slowly, his scales shifting through colors of confusion, anger, and finally, understanding. You let us mock you. Let us believe you were weak. Chen nodded. Sometimes the best defense is to be underestimated. Now shall we show the swarm what humanity's primitive technology can really do? Humanity's response. The swarm arrived exactly as predicted, their vast bioships darkening the stars like an organic eclipse. But instead of finding a broken Alliance fleet, they encountered something unprecedented. The full might of humanity's Chimera project. High Admiral Chen stood at the neural interface hub aboard the mothership, her consciousness linked to thousands of operators throughout the human fleet. Through their shared neural network, she felt every ship, every drone, every weapon system, as if they were extensions of her own body. All units, execute Evolution Protocol Alpha, she commanded. Throughout the fleet, ships began to change. Smaller vessels merged into larger configurations, while others split apart into swarms of autonomous units. The entire fleet moved like a living organism, adapting its form to match the swarm's approach. Supreme Commander Vexthal watched from his command ship, his multiple eyes struggling to track the constant transformations. By the ancient gods, he whispered, they fight like the swarm itself. The first wave of bioships launched their attack, expecting to encounter the same rigid defensive formations they'd easily overcome before. Instead, the human fleet scattered like a startled flock of birds, only to reform into deadly new configurations. Where the swarm struck, they found nothing. Where they defended, the human fleet's weapons found impossible angles of attack. Now you understand. Martinez's voice came through the Alliance command channel. We didn't build better ships or stronger weapons. We changed the rules of the game entirely. The Chimera mothership demonstrated the full potential of human innovation. Its form constantly shifted between offensive and defensive configurations, each change forcing the swarm to adapt, only to find their adaptations countered before they could take effect. It was evolution at the speed of thought, guided by human creativity and machine precision. Multiple swarm queens detected, announced the tactical AI. They're attempting to coordinate a synchronized attack. Chen smiled. This was the moment they'd been waiting for. Execute mimetic warfare protocol. Throughout the battle space, human ships began broadcasting on frequencies that mimicked the swarm's own bioelectric communications. But these signals carried something the swarm had never encountered: human chaos. Unpredictable patterns, illogical sequences, deliberate contradictions, the digital equivalent of a Zen koan. The effect was devastating. The highly ordered swarm consciousness struggled to process the inherent contradictions in the human transmissions. Bioships began to move erratically, their perfect coordination shattered by the introduction of human irrationality into their group mind. Their greatest strength is their perfect unity, Chen explained to the watching Alliance commanders. So we gave them something that unity cannot comprehend: human chaos. The same creativity that lets us appreciate art, tell jokes, and imagine the impossible. The Swarm Queens, attempting to restore order to their forces, made a fatal mistake. They opened themselves fully to the human transmissions, trying to understand and counter them. In that moment, they experienced something their billion-year evolution had never prepared them for: human consciousness, with all its beautiful contradictions and infinite creativity. The effect cascaded through the swarm's neural network. Bioships began to break formation, some turning on each other, others simply stopping as their controlling intelligence tried to process concepts it was never designed to understand. The mighty swarm, which had consumed countless civilizations, was being defeated not by superior firepower, but by the uniquely human ability to think outside of any box. Vexthal's voice crackled over the command channel, his tone mixing awe and humility. "Admiral Chen, I believe I owe humanity an apology. We thought you primitive because you didn't follow our path. We never considered that you might have found a better one." Victory and understanding. In the aftermath of the battle, the Alliance Council chamber felt different. Gone was the hierarchical arrangement that had placed the Karniks at the center. Now representatives sat in a circle, with High Admiral Chen and Supreme Commander Vexthal sharing adjacent seats, a symbolic gesture that spoke volumes. The main display showed the remnants of the swarm fleet retreating beyond the galaxy's edge, their once perfect coordination shattered by the introduction of human consciousness into their network. But they weren't being pursued. Instead, something unprecedented was happening. The infected bioships are responding to our communication attempts, Martines reported, her hands dancing over the neural interface. The human cognitive patterns we introduced, they're not just disrupting the swarm's unity, they're teaching them something new: individuality. The chamber erupted in murmurs of astonishment. The Myraxian observer's crystalline form sparkled with excited energy. "You mean the swarm might be transformed rather than destroyed?" Chen nodded, her weathered face showing both exhaustion and hope. "That was always our ultimate goal. The Chimera project wasn't just about matching the swarm's ability to adapt. It was about introducing them to a new way of being. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't destroying your enemy, but helping them evolve." Vexthal's scales shifted through thoughtful patterns of blue and gold. "Your ships weren't primitive at all. They were seeds, waiting for the right moment to bloom into something revolutionary." He paused, mandibles clicking in what the Alliance members now recognized as embarrassment. "We called you weak because you didn't build mighty dreadnoughts or planet-cracking weapons. We never understood that true strength lies in the ability to change." "Humanity learned that lesson the hard way," Chen replied, bringing up historical records on the display. "Our own history is filled with empires that fell because they couldn't adapt, armies defeated because they fought yesterday's wars. We survived countless near extinctions not because we were the strongest, but because we were the most flexible." The Deltaran representatives' antennae bobbed in agreement. "And now you've given this gift to the Alliance. Not just the Chimera technology, but a new way of thinking about warfare, about existence itself. That's the real power of humanity," Martinez added softly. "Not our ships, not our weapons, but our ability to imagine different futures and find unexpected paths to reach them." As if to emphasize her point, the tactical display updated with new data from the frontier. The first of the transformed swarm ships was approaching under a flag of truce, its biomechanical structure already showing signs of individualization and creative adaptation. What had been a mindless drone in a vast collective was becoming something new, a unique being capable of independent thought. "The universe is changing," Chen said, looking around the chamber at the assembled representatives. "The old ways of measuring strength by the size of our ships or the power of our weapons are over. The future belongs to those who can adapt, who can see beyond traditional boundaries, who can turn enemies into allies through understanding rather than force." Vexthal stood, his impressive height now somehow less intimidating and more dignified. "Then let us adapt together. The Karniks have much to learn from humanity about the true nature of strength." He extended all four hands to Chen in his species' most respectful greeting. "Perhaps we could start by redesigning our fleet, something a bit more flexible." Chen smiled, clasping his hands in return. "I think we can arrange that. After all, the greatest victories are the ones that open new possibilities rather than closing them." As the council chamber filled with excited discussion about the future, about combining the best aspects of all their civilizations, Chen shared a quiet look with Martinez. They had achieved something far greater than a military victory. They had shown the galaxy that being underestimated, being different, being willing to think in new ways, these weren't weaknesses at all. They were humanity's greatest strength. End.